What's up, kids? School's out for summer, right? It's a great time of the year. Everyone's excited, and there's reason to be excited because I'm about to start popping out some more episodes of the You're Still Here podcast. I'd like to welcome you guys back. This episode of the show, believe it or not, is actually brought to you by Nordic Track. Have you looked at yourself in the mirror lately and said, oh my God, I'm disgusting. I could really use a Nordic Track? Well, if that's you, I don't know what to tell you because I haven't seen a Nordic Track commercial. This isn't brought to you by Nordic Track, and I don't think you will be seeing a Nordic Track commercial anytime soon because I don't even know if they're still in business. You probably won't even see a Bowflex commercial. You won't see a Crunch Gym commercial because that's not how they advertise getting in shape for summer anymore. Because typically that's what you'd see, right? Oh, it's summertime. It's time to get in shape, which is an awful advertisement, by the way, because obviously if you're going to get in shape for summer, it pretty much had to start on Halloween. So right now you're pretty much getting in shape for ski season. But then again, I guess it's better than nothing. But not to worry, you're not really seeing any sort of advertisements to get in shape. Those are gone. Those are things of the past. Nowadays, you are being advertised things to encourage you to get skinnier. It just has nothing to do with exercising or working out. What it has to do with is taking a big fat syringe and sticking it in your stomach and pressing it, because I learned that that's what Ozempic was. I thought Ozempic was like a Flintstone vitamin that you took. I was unaware that you literally had to act like Blade from the movie Blade and take this serum to stop yourself from turning into a vampire. But instead of taking Blade serum to stop him from turning into a vampire, you're taking the serum simply to make yourself not crave Baconators and triple cheeseburgers. I had no clue that this was the case until, I don't know, I was just standing on the subway platform and just saw big old stomachs being blasted by multiple syringes. This is disgusting. I have no problem with Ozempic, by the way. I just have a real problem with this rollout. I should not be sitting on a train. I should not be standing on a subway platform and see some fat person blasting themselves with this Blade syringe. Ozempic, it should be something that's whispered in the middle of the night. It should be like, you don't really see. I don't know what a Plan B commercial looks like. Do you? Do you have to shoot that into your stomach too? I would hope not. But now I know what Ozempic is because I saw these advertisements. This should be something that's whispered in the middle of the night. This should not be encouraged as the main way to get the job done because it's de-incentivizing for someone like me, by the way. You know, I've been playing hockey. I've been trying to do this and do that to lose a pound here, lose a pound there. And then I got to see these performance-enhancing drugs over here. I'm actually fine with it as long as I get credit. Like if me and somebody step into somewhere, oh, you guys both lost 12 pounds. No. That's not 12v12. Okay, that's like saying I made $100,000 as my job as a plumber, and I made $100,000 on my job stealing money from people on the beach. No, yeah. There's $100,000 there and there, but the means of which it was achieved is a whole hell of a lot different, and one is going to continue to be better in the long run than robbing people on the beach. But really, I don't have a problem with it per se, but one thing that I was thinking about recently is the question, if you met somebody now, because a lot more people, and the reason I'm talking about it, a lot more people are taking Ozempic than you would think. It's not just, I heard about a person who knows a person knows a person. Now, we got people taking them left and right. And my question to you is, let's say you meet somebody out somewhere. You hang out with them. You start seeing them. You've been on a couple dates. Eventually, you stay at her place. You spend the night. You go in there to maybe you give yourself the fake tooth. You ever go into a girl's place and just try to give yourself the fake toothbrush with your finger, hoping that somehow is just good enough, and you show her that you somehow care about hygiene by brushing your teeth with your finger. Let's say you do that. You open up the cabinet. You look for that Crest. If it's a Colgate chick, you got your own issues to worry about. But you see the Ozempic just sitting in there. What are you thinking? How do you feel the same exact way about that person? Or do you kind of feel like you're with a little bit of a fatty in hiding? Like, do you remember the movie Shallow Hal? Tony Robbins puts this kind of weird curse on him where he can just see fully obese people and he actually ends up seeing models and attractive guys. It's like a reverse version of that. This is a shallow Hal thing going on. And
oh my God, there she is.
You're with fatties, you just can't see it.
Where?
It's like a real life
Right
shallow Hal type of thing.
Where? Straight ahead, across the field.
It's just some food for thought.
Is she behind the rhino?
Okay?
What? She's right there.
Because if you have a kid with that girl you're in bed with, the Ozempic genes aren't the ones that get passed forward. But I'll tell you right now, if I was on Ozempic, nobody would ever know. You're never going to know if I was on Ozempic. If I'm on Ozempic, you think that's going in the standard cabinets? That's going in the Batman cabinets. You have to play a couple piano keys like Alfred, and then a bookcase turns around, kind of like the vault in the Addams Family, if you've seen that. A whole second cabinet comes and flips around, and that's where I have that. But if you open my regular cabinets, if a girl was in the reverse situation and she went into my bathroom, opened the cabinets, you're getting the full North Korea propaganda cabinets. Those cabinets have been assembled not even for myself. My own cabinets aren't for me. They are just to convince a potential snooper that I'm actually a regular guy. Somebody's coming, they're fixing something in my bathroom. I can't take the risk that they're opening it and then they're seeing the Ozempic in there. Then they're going to put me on the registry like sex offenders. There's a whole map of Ozempic users somewhere. No. They're just getting the North Korea cabinets, which have my toothbrush, scope, Band-Aids, Alka-Seltzer. Those are my North Korea propaganda cabinet. The comb. Maybe I'll get a little exotic, put a blow dryer in there. But, stroke a couple of those Batcave piano keys, and then out come those Frank cabinets, out come the stimulants, out come the Ozempic, out comes that the Plan B that there was no advertisements for. I even got Plan C in there. Oh yeah, you're wondering what Plan C is? I don't even know what it is, but it's in there. Anyway, last episode, I talked about a couple of different topics. And typically this is a potpourri podcast where you don't have to watch, it's not one of those you have to watch that episode. It's not like the Avengers where someone told me I couldn't watch the Avengers because I had to first watch this movie and that there were prereqs before I was allowed to watch a movie. No, I try to make these episodes. You can watch something from 4 years ago and the episode starts, the episode ends. You don't need to listen to any beforehand to kind of be clued into what I'm talking about. But I have some updates to the very last episode. If you remember last week, I gave you a scam of the week, one that I found out there. I was a little upset that I didn't kind of think of this one on my own like I typically like to do for the scam of the week. But I found that clip of some guy somewhere who suggested anytime you need to mail something somewhere, just put the address you want to send it to up there where the return address goes, and then put no stamps at all. Don't put any postage, and then it's going to get returned to the actual address you wanted to send it to.
It's a scam.
So
it's a scam.
That was the scam of the week last week. And if you can recall, even older episodes, many times I've talked about my friends on this podcast. I've talked about how they will go a long way to screw you. We've had those type of relationships where I could have won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and they would give me shit for not winning the best, lead actor in the film. It's that kind of situation with these guys. And then you remember the Altoids on the Table episode where we used to prank call people, and then our indication for making a lot of money and big important meetings was saying the Altoids are on the table. Well, the guy I made those prank calls with, I guess, was listening last week because midweek I get a piece of mail that I wasn't expecting to me. And I see my address and my name in the top left portion as the return address. I see no stamp. And then like a yellow label saying return to sender. And where was it addressed to allow me to know actually who it was? 284 Altoid Avenue. Yes. So the Altoids guy heard last week's episode and then used my address as the return address. And as a little wink as to who it was, put an Altoid Avenue address. That sounds like a great address, right? There's a place on Altoid Avenue. I can hear that being a song. There's a place on Altoid Avenue. I can hear that being a song.
Staying up all night.
So anyway, I can confirm that the scam does indeed work here in the U.S., but I will say it was a small trial. I called him up hysterically laughing. We've lightened up over the years. Like this is actually a fun, playful type of prank. It used to be way worse, but we're going to up it. We're going to see. That was just a standard letter. Next up, we're going to try a bigger manila folder. Then we're going to try one of those small packages, and we're going to see how far we can go with this and how many free packages we can get sent and where it eventually ends up. Unless you can actually get in trouble for saying that you're doing this. And then always remember, this is a comedy podcast. Nothing I say, I have AI write all this. This isn't even, these are none of my ideas. I say, give me a relatively funny podcast that piss people off at times, and then it spit all this out. So I never told anybody to do anything. Nobody sent anything to Altoid Avenue. That was all AI.
There's a place off
Altoid Avenue.
If I could find you now, things would get better.
Outside of that scam of the week, last week I talked to you about how I'm revisiting my entire stance on plane clappers. I used to make fun of them, but I said now I'm actually tempted to be a plane clapper, considering all these stories we've seen in the last couple of months or even like a year or two, all these near misses on the runway, planes flipping over and even going down altogether. And I'm sure that most of you saw this flight in India that took off and then shortly after it went right down. The crash killed every single person on this flight, like Final Destination style, other than one lone guy who literally walked away from the crash with no injuries. Legitimately, there's a video. You can see a video. There's a video on YouTube of this guy just walking away. So like, oh, you're not going to believe what the hell just happened over there. I mean, rumor has it he showed up at his shift at Home Depot that night. Because I told my mom about this. My mom, there is a plane crash in India. Every last person died, but one guy, he just walked away. And do you want to know what she said? She told me it wasn't his time to go. God has a plan for him. Which, I really think is a fair response. But I also think it's unfair to put that kind of burden on this poor guy. I mean, it's bad enough that this guy just watched an entire plane die. Is there anything worse than that? Now he has to live his whole life with the pressure, the monkey on his back of being the one who was individually saved by God for some huge reason that God spared him. Like if this guy wants to just stay home on October 26th and watch Halloween H2O, he's going to feel guilty about it. Like, oh man, I should be out there. I should be trying to walk on water. I'm the chosen one. That's a lot of pressure to bear after something like this. Because with this guy, I really believe the polar opposite. Like if this guy turns into a degenerate alcoholic, I'm going to tell him like, I understand, man. I'm going to bring him a bottle as I come over to tell him that. What the hell do they drink in India, by the way? I have no clue. The best I would guess is spiced rum. I don't know. Maybe they're more of a herbal remedy group of people. Maybe I'd have to bring over some ganja. I'll send him some. Oh, you know what I'll send him? I will send him something called lamb's breath. I will send the survivor of that flight some lamb's breath. And what, you don't know what that is? Don't worry about it. Either did I. Do you want me to clue you in? You want me to clue you in as to what lamb's breath is and share the story of how I learned about lamb's breath? Let's do it. Let's have some story time with Andy. And these stories are real unless I can get in trouble for them. And then they're absolutely not. This is an entertainment show. Obviously, are you people crazy? You think I would tell you real stories that I can get in trouble in? Unless I can't get in trouble, then this story is absolutely true. So let's rewind the clock to shortly after college. If I only had AI available to me back then to tell me what exactly lamb's breath actually was, maybe I would have been spared the embarrassment. And by the way, I got to say, AI, I've become borderline obnoxious with it because mostly of how effective it is. Like your car's making a certain squeak. You want to know DraftKings policies on banning players? Just ask AI. It's going to give you a detailed, mostly accurate description. And you want to know what my favorite part is about AI? I know I'm getting sidetracked from the story. You want to know my favorite part about AI? It's what you wish Google always was. You ever like mistype something in the Google search bar and then you don't get the results that you want because it's like, oh, I have to put the exact phrasing. With AI, you can just kind of talk to it like some guy. You can even start it by saying, oh, listen, man, I'm an absolute piece of garbage. I really am. And I forgot my girlfriend's birthday. I know. Trust me. I'm aware I'm garbage anyway. What the hell can I do in short notice in the tri-state area that will dig me out of this hole? Come on, find somewhere, find some hidden concerts. You got any speakeasies? What do you got for me? You can literally say that. You can be a ranting lunatic and it will give you a clear, concise answer. If you like bullet points, tell it bullet points. However you like. Say, tell me the answer like a real cool guy.
Cool guy? What are you, in 8th grade?
And what's a cool guy? I don't know. Patrick Swayze in 1988. But it's going to do what you want. Anyway. Let me tell you about this lamb's breath story. So it was shortly after college. If you can't tell, there are people who watch some of my shows, whether it's the podcast, I watch the hockey show, and they need to insinuate I'm on drugs. Like that's why I bring energy. God forbid somebody wants to entertain other people and have one iota of energy. It immediately has to get chalked up to drugs. Anyway, I don't need any additional layers of creativity in case you hadn't noticed. But, every time, at some point in life, whether I was living in California where, weed was legal or everybody has a couple of friends who smoke pot. One night it was like midnight or something and someone's like, yo, let's smoke and then let's go to this Cuban diner I know. So I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, come on, we're all doing it. And I'm like, what is that? I remember I said, like, is that standard 9 to 5 weed? Like, I want the generic Rice Krispies weed. I don't want any of this weird stuff. If it's regular weed, I'll have some. And I just mentioned before about how my friends endlessly screw me. And they go, no, this is 100% normal. This is basic. Look at it. Man, one quick hit. It's a standard 9 to 5 weed. That's it. Weed 101. So I theoretically take a hit unless I can get in trouble, and then I didn't take a hit. But let's say I took a hit. Then I'm sitting there, and then my friend just leans and goes, oh, yeah, by the way, that's lamb's breath. It's lamb's breath. I don't need that additional. 101 weed is way more than I need. That was a little 8-mile rap there. But, of course, what do? They give me lamb's breath. And then we make our way to the Cuban diner. Doesn't really hit right away. And then now I'm cracked. I'm sitting in this Cuban diner. My mind's working a little bit differently. I'm thinking about wild things. So of all the days this can happen to me, what I'm about to tell you, it has to happen the one day I was lied to about 101 weed and given something called lamb's breath. Picture it. I'm sitting at a diner. And there's the clear window right next to me. There's a table of about 6 of us. And I'm at one of the end parts of the table. So imagine it's like a diner-esque. Now, it wasn't a booth, but imagine there was a table and there's one person on each end and then obviously the people in the middle. So somebody walks by the diner, looks at me, stops, and then walks back the direction they came from. And if you need me to kind of paint a clear picture of what this looked like, what it felt like, imagine somebody who owed somebody else money for years and has been dodging them. That person who was trying to track down the person who owed them money was just walking gingerly on the street and then looked in a diner window and saw the guy who owed them money. That's what it looked like when this person looked at me. And then they stopped and walked back the direction. So they saw me, locked eyes, and walked back in the direction they came from. My first thought was, that guy's just getting a gun out of his car. That was my thought. And honestly, that's what it felt like. Thankfully for me, because half the people, their backs were to the window, obviously. Thankfully, the person right next to me saw it. So there was no, like, you couldn't say I was hallucinating or anything like that. So we're sitting there, and then the person comes back with 4 or 5 more people. And now they're pointing at me from outside the diner. The one time in my whole life I have to be on lamb's breath, I have a group of people looking at me. I wave, and then they all start waving and laughing at me. And push came to shove. They thought I was some sort of Spanish soap opera guy. And that's what the whole commotion was. And of course, it had to happen on the one night that I took lamb's breath. So that guy in India, I think he may qualify for some lamb's breath. Anyway, plane clapping is not the only thing I've changed my stance on recently. And as I told you before, I said, as this podcast goes along, yeah, if you've been on the fence about me, you're about to hop off the fence. Now, in recent years, I want to let you know I've changed my stance on a topic. I changed my stance to now agree with all of you. So that's the good part of it. But this stance is going to make you feel a little bit uneasy. All right, one that might make you just skip to the next chapter of this episode. And by the way, there should be chapters, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Spotify. I think I try to insert the chapters so you can go from topic to topic. So what is this topic, you ask? Students hooking up with their teachers. And I'm not talking about the college variety. I'm talking about all these stories that you hear of students hooking up with their high school teachers. And you don't even have to go far to find some of these. They're all on YouTube every single week. There's a brand new story of some relatively attractive female teacher who got caught hooking up with one of their teenage students. And it's all these women for whatever reason. In every one of these videos, the people who are breaking it down, Law and Order and Crime or whatever these channels are. And once you watch one, by the way, you know how that algorithm works. You watch one little thing on a device. I mean, it thinks that's your last final interest in the world. Like if you're on death row and you're allowed to choose one last category for videos, you watch one thing on YouTube, TikTok, whatever, that's what you're being fed. So just know, if you do watch one of these videos, you're getting every last one. That's what happened to me recently, and that's what's making me talk about this. So in every one of these videos, the people breaking it down, who, by the way, I don't trust any of these people. I trust 0 of these people talking about this, because if your whole channel is doing stories about hot teachers hooking up with 15-year-olds, my guess is that your search history is a little wonky, to say the least. You know how they say that, like, predators and whatnot, they try to get jobs that allow them to be closer to the people that they're chasing? Yeah, I know. These reporters on this channel aren't that. But I think they like having access to those police files to know exactly what's going on. And this would be the perfect time for a VPN advertisement. Is your search history a little wonky? Well, you might want to get Don't Sniff Around Me VPN. But no, there is no advertisement. Not at all. The only advertisers of this show and who subsidize this show are all my fine members on the Patreon, who mostly just support my hockey and sports betting content. But just know I'm happy to have you so you can subsidize this podcast as well. And I could talk about these fine topics like, I don't know, high school teachers hooking up with their teenage students. So I'm going to open up with my original opinion, the one which I'm sure will induce a fair amount of vitriol from all of you viewers. And that opinion is, I had 0 problem with a young guy hooking up with a hot teacher. And yes, that would even include my theoretical son.
Boy, crikey.
I'll go 15, 16, 17. I will go senior year, junior year, 10th grade. I had, past tense, no problem with those guys hooking up with a hot teacher. No, I didn't say some rickety, crusty old. No, I'm talking about these random 26-year-old attractive teachers. And where I would actually reprimand my son is telling him, son, I mean, I got to admit, it's pretty crazy that you pulled this off. But I mean, the big mistake here is, I mean, you think you're going to start dating this woman? Shame on you. No, not for pursuing, hookups with this, but for pursuing more than a casual fantasy with your teacher. But other than that, yeah, he was getting a big high five from me. He was, not is, but was. And by the way, I have a friend, maybe two friends. They definitely hooked up with one of our teachers in high school. And you want to know what happened after that? They went to college. They dated a few girls. They became adults, met someone they liked, got married, had kids, and they're just living a completely normal life. That's what happened to the random 17-year-old I know who hooked up with a hot, was it biology teacher? Unless I can get in trouble for this, of course, and then none of this happened and it's just for this podcast. Anyway, I can hear you. I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking already. Oh, yeah, Andy, what if you had a daughter? Double standard much? Yes, there absolutely is a double standard, and there is a deserved double standard at that. And do you want to know the main difference? I can explain it to you very simply. And remember, these aren't my opinions. They're my old opinions. We've washed these away. I have a whole new disposition on this now. I'm just talking about the old Andy. Remember, I've turned the page. Every single new podcast, I turn a whole new page because, sniffing is believing and living is loving and learning. Anyway, if a 16-year-old girl goes for some extra help and she is cornered by some scumbag 44-year-old, imposing male teacher, she's stuck. Unless she's Ronda Rousey, knows some jujitsu, there's an inherent physical threat that's always present when it's some sort of guy. If any of my female high school teachers cornered me at 16 years old and made an advance on me that was unwanted, I could stone cold stun them into oblivion. There's nothing that could happen that I didn't want to. That is the reason why I have a double standard. Yes, some 44-year-old guy who can just corner a 16-year-old girl is a lot different than a 16-year-old guy who is on, creatine in the gym, playing high school football, being looked at by Penn State and can squat 340 pounds. It's a little bit different. Anyway, now that we've established that I was a scumbag, that I am the scumbag actually being referenced in all these law and crime videos. They do that in all these videos. They say, unfortunately, there is that sick notion that a boy is cool for being able to hook up with his 24-year-old friend teacher. One of the worst opinions that you could ever have. I am proud to announce to all of you who are judging me very harshly right now that I have changed my opinion. I no longer believe any 15, 16, 17, even if it was a guy, should be able to hook up with a hot young teacher. And this stance has not changed because of some magic enlightenment that I've had. Oh, Andy's become this exemplary citizen. Now he's just trying to cross his T's, dot his I's, make sure as he's heading into this next phase of his life that he's just a great man across the board. I already told you I'm bringing that guy lamb's breath and ganja and alcohol and saying, don't worry, nobody saved you, do whatever the hell you want. Don't worry about the pressure. But I'm turning this new leaf because I think it's disgusting that 16-year-olds now look like full elementary school boys. That's why my stance has changed. When I was in high school, some high school kids looked 43. I'm not kidding. They looked like they were in their 40s. If a high school kid went out with their teacher to get ice cream, they didn't know who the hell was older. These guys looked so old.
Are you a senior? No, I got one more year. What's the school like? Well, if you come to the school and you do it, it'll come out good,
And I know you know what I'm talking about. We've talked about this where I believed that Y2K had nothing to do with electronics. It just made people look considerably younger. But now, when you have a 26-year-old teacher and a 17-year-old student, now it looks like a little boy out there. So now I'm against it simply because something has happened. You used to look 50 at 20, and back then I guess I was more willing to give my theoretical son a high five. But now, no, man, these kids, no, they look like actual children. So it definitely feels different. And I just want to remind everybody, this whole segment's fake. Everything I say here is just 100% for your entertainment. I drew it up on a computer over there. And no, you know who made this? AI. AI actually made this. And I got to talk to it like an absolute, hey, AI, give me this dirtbag story where I'm talking about these hot high school teachers hooking up with their students. So I don't mean any of that unless I can't get in trouble, and then I do, unless I don't, which then I do. Anyway, this episode of the show is brought to you, or this segment at least, by LegalZoom. Found yourself in a little bit of trouble? Don't worry about it. LegalZoom, look, it ain't fixing all your wacky fetishes, but we'll try to get you a decent plea deal. Oh, man, what a topic. Listen, I'm telling you right now, even if you agree with anything that I just said in that last little diatribe right there, please don't comment it. Do not comment on this video. Yeah, Andy, you hook up with those. Just say you vehemently disagree. Comment full Greta Thunberg. How dare you? I'm a father of 4. If my boy hooked up with his extremely hot 26-year-old French teacher.
How dare you?
I would not be jealous or proud at all. I'd be livid. I couldn't look at the boy again the same way.
How dare you?
If this was I would actually fight with my wife. I'd fight with my wife because I've seen in all these stories, it's the mom who always finds on iCloud some sort of messages. I'd take my wife in a room and say, look, we're not pressing charges. I'm going to handle this. This is our son. I'm going to sit him down. I'm going to handle this. You want a divorce? Okay, let me handle this. I'll talk to our son, and then I'm going to sit him down and say, Zach, first of all, this is why you were named Zach. Classic cool guy name. It set you up. Set you up, you know. We started you with a pair of jacks, and, you know, you were able to not blow it. Some people, they start with a pair of jacks. They don't know, you know, they let somebody catch a straight, and then they're screwed. Second of all, you can't be doing this. You can't be doing this. You can't be seeing your teacher continuously. This woman, forget about her being your teacher. She's nuts. The first little bit is fine. You can't keep doing it. Son, you can't have an ongoing relationship with your 30-year-old teacher, because any woman who is clearly doing that is batshit crazy. Also, you don't know do you know who her husband is? This guy could show up like Richard Gere and Unfaithful and clock you in the back of the head. Did you look up who her husband is? Did you? No? And that's why you're not ready to handle this. That's poor bunker work, son. You got to have all these T's crossed and the I's dotted. Now, you're not equipped to handle this. You're not grounded. And you want to know what I'm going to do for you? Son, and trust me, this isn't punishment. This is actually a gift. I'm going to make sure your name is redacted, unredacted, actually, from the newspapers. Yeah, I'm going to make sure everybody knows what you did. That way, when you meet someone in a college party and then they inevitably Google you, look you up, they're going to say, oh, my God, this guy snaked an attractive teacher when he was in high school. What is it about it? This is the guy. I want him. I'm going to get you unredacted so that everybody's going to be praising. You're going to be praised on Academy Award speeches. I mean, look, hey, they praised prostitutes. Why wouldn't you get it? You deserve more praise. What you did was way harder than the prostitutes.
I want to thank the sex worker community. They have shared their stories. My deepest respect. Thank you. I share this with you. Okay.
Yeah, you ever binge watch shows? Like, you binge watch them so long, you watch 3 seasons in 2 days, you've watched so much that now you kind of feel like you're somehow involved with that show. You're involved with the lifestyle that's being portrayed. I just watched this show that Netflix suggested to me. It's probably suggesting it to you. I love when it rebrands a show that ended a couple of years ago as like some new show. Just added. It tries to tell you half-baked, like brand new, just added. And then you go to 1999. Anyway, I watched this show Netflix suggested. It was a recent show actually called Animal Kingdom. And in this show, it's like a family in Newport Beach, and they're just pulling major crimes on everyone. They grew up in Newport Beach. They're just committing crimes on everyone. They're robbing random people, doing all these things. And I tell you, you watch that show as much as I've been watching it in these last couple of days. I leave my eyes. I look at people differently. Someone's standing on the corner. I'm like, oh, I see. What's the next job? What's the next job? Especially with no hockey on right now. That's why I shouldn't be watching those things. I got to stick to my horror movies. That's my realm. That's my level of expertise. I watched a couple horror movies lately, but I've come to this weird point. You guys obviously know. Look around me. I talk almost about a new horror movie every time. Why is it that the only horror movies that the masses theoretically enjoy, I refuse to believe they enjoy it, are the very few that I hate the most. I watched Sinners over the last week or so. This was like thought of as one of the best. That was the biggest piece of shit I've seen in a long time. It just made, like, it started off mostly fine. It didn't even feel like a horror movie, which I'm completely fine with. I kind of like that turn halfway through. There's just a scene that just ended it for me. They're playing music, and the music was so good that random DJs from the future were also somehow omnipresent in this, like, dance hall or place that they made. It was a piece of shit. Yet everybody's somehow praising this. The substance was worse than most Black Mirror episodes. I just felt like one long Black Mirror episode, and it's being nominated for Academy Awards. And when I ask people, what did you like so much about this? They can't really explain to me what's good about it. There was a movie called X that came out recently. Great movie. The sequel came out. It was dog shit. And that's the one that's getting praised. I don't understand what the hell is going on. Hopefully we're all on the same page about long legs. Let's just leave it at that. We'll leave it at long legs, and I will leave this episode right now. I will be back with you for the next episode of the show. You guys know how it goes during the summer. I can get these to you more frequently. I look forward to it. If you enjoyed this episode of the show, we had a little bit of everything, then I encourage you, like this video, comment on the video. Let me know what you think. Let me know how much you're disgusted by me. And then I guess I will see you for the next episode where I still have something major, somewhat major to tease. I'm sitting on something that I'm eager to talk to you guys about, but I'm gathering some materials. But, you know, the only way to know when I'm going to talk about it is by clicking the notifications and, like I said, subscribing. All right, guys, I will see you for the next episode. Had a good time tonight. Hopefully you did as well. I hope you saved this for a time you really needed to kill a good 40 minutes somewhere. And I guess I will see you next time for the same exact type of ridiculous experience. Take it easy.